Alright, thanks again everyone for being patient. Just had to reset the timer there. Okay, so the finale and what I generally refer to as the holy trinity of Konami games, at least in the US, for arcades. Along with the preceding TMNT and Simpsons, X-Men is one of the most talked about games from that era for nostalgia. And I personally think it's for good reason. This game is really fun. It has a lot going for it. It's really bright and colorful. It doesn't quite feel like you're playing an episode of the show because of different characters and the look, or how they look, but it was based on a failed pilot. How that spawned a game, we'll never know, but timing is weird, I suppose. So this game is mostly well known for having a 6-player arcade cabinet, which, to my knowledge, actually did not exist in Japan. Japan only had 4-player cabinet as its highest. Today I'm playing the 2-player variant of what's called I think it's referred to as the AAA ROM set, which is just the Asia version. It's the version that I've found to be the most forgiving. And while I will be messing with some others later... Hey, Speed Gaming Espanol, thank you for the raid. In this case, this is the only one I've truly messed with. It's also, out of the 3 games, the most diverse in terms of character playability. By that I mean, you definitely have a distinct tier list in this game. And what's funny is the differences between the US version and the Japanese versions quite different from each other. Extremely different from each other. So I'll talk a bit more about that once we start. For the Japanese version, we're going to be playing as Aurora. Storm is really overpowered across in the Far East. And I'll go into why. In the US version, you didn't have access to these. You have access to what I just referred to as, for those that play Tekken and will know what I'm talking about, they're command normals. I guess they exist in Street Fighter as well, Collarbone Breaker with Ryu, etc. Every character except Nightcrawler has access to 2 extra normals that they can do by holding a diagonal direction. In this case, either up forward or down forward. This is important because Storm's down forward attack is completely insane. It's basically a Donatello range attack. This little jab poke here, and enemies have a very difficult time approaching her when she does this. This way. Her up forward attack is also very good. It's slightly less range, but it hits low, and that's actually really important against some enemies. It also gives her something to do on a different axis, which is really cool. You can tell enemy grouping in this game is quite important. Throws are also quite good. Storm doesn't have the best throw. That award definitely goes to Dazzler. But her throw has very, very good range. Like, she can throw someone from the range of her... basically the same as her normal attack. I think this costume is more based on how she looked in the 70s. Anyway, we'll clear out those enemies here, move on to Pyro. Pyro is actually not a fight I enjoy with Storm, and that's part of the reason. There's a number of stun lock strats you can employ on Pyro, but Storm doesn't have very good ones. She can dive kick loop him in the corner, which is sort of okay, but I'd rather just try to combo him out. The reason that's hard, though, is because he can outrange Storm because of that stupid flamethrower attack he has. There we go. Got hit once. Got trolled by a flamethrower, but no big deal. The flamethrower also has a built-in backstep, so it has free defense against attacks, even your longest range attacks. You've probably seen throws are one-hit KO against all Sentinels. Not every Sentinel they crash into, but the first 2 stages, Sentinels only have 3 HP, so they're really easy to beat. Got some Samuses here. Samuses are, for my money, the most difficult enemies in the game. I don't know what they're actually called, but I just refer to them as Samuses because they look like Samus Aran. Robot versions of her, anyway. Take out those drones. Sorry, turrets. Talk a little bit more about how the characters work. Dazzler is very, very good. She's very good in the US version as well, maybe even the best character. She has the best throw in the game. Similar to TMNT, throws in this game have a cooldown period, unless you're Dazzler. With Dazzler, you can just throw all the time as long as your spacing is correct. The tricky part of playing Dazzler, though, is that the range on her throw is kind of hard to employ correctly. I haven't gotten very good at it, which is why I haven't 1CC'd this game with her yet. I think if I could do that, I'd probably have an easier time with it. Aside from that, her neutral is decent. It's just not as good as Storm's. Dazzler's really bad in the air. Both her dive kick and her hop kick are bad, whereas you see me using Storm's dive quite often. It's very strong. Get to our wall, unleash our first mutant power, dive the rest of the way. We want to destroy this wall too, because if we don't, it takes us in an elevator to the top floor. That top floor is significantly harder than the bottom floor, and we don't get a health up. Other characters. Wolverine is extremely good in JP. His up forward attack is the attack I refer to as Headbanger's Ball. It's just a long range double jab with both of his fists, with claws extended. Real strong, but it's also kind of awkward to use compared to Storm's based on the direction of it. Cyclops is okay. He actually has a really good hop kick and a great up forward attack, and it's basically a Tekken Magic 4. It's a high kick. Problem with Cyclops is he doesn't really have much going for him outside of that, outside of his back attack. His back attack is the best in the game because it hits on both sides. Blob's pretty free to Storm. He can't contend with this attack at all. I'm actually surprised he's taunting this much, but yeah, Blob with Storm is just completely inconsequential. It's not a fight at all. It's just a massacre. Alright, on to stage 3. This, I feel, is where the game truly begins. Not a truly hard stage, but this is where they start saying, okay, we kind of want your money now, so we're going to up the ante a little bit. They do that by these lizard guys. And these guys are actually not that fun to deal with Storm. I actually find that hop kick strats are incredibly good against lizards, which would be fun, except Storm's hop kick is maybe the worst in the game, if not definitely the worst. Nightcrawlers and Dazzlers are also both pretty bad, but who are the other characters we didn't talk about? Nightcrawler and JP is unfortunately not very good. He only has one command normal for some reason. I don't know why they didn't give him two. And it's a short range uppercut, which is a very good anti-air, but has a really hard time contending with range stuff. That was a clutch throw. I didn't think I was going to get that. I was willing to just work with it. Get these sides so I can try to one-cycle these plants. Not quite. This could be a problem. Okay. Got on the second try. No bigs. And then Colossus. Oh man, Colossus is so much fun to play, but God, he's bad. He has the best mutant power in the game by like a lot. Like it covers the entire screen. Everybody knows the meme associated with it. The sound effect is just glorious arcade lore, and I love it to death. He also has probably the best hop kick in the game, but everything else he has is awful. His jab is really short range. I think it's tied with Cyclops' for the shortest range. Maybe Nightcrawlers, but it's close. He also has problems with his back attack. His primary back attack is a throw, which is really sweet to be able to pull off, but it's also really inconsistent because you may not get it. Ugh, had a really good B fight going there. Alright, dragged from one corner to the other. Took a little bit of damage, but we're okay. Yeah, Storm, while she doesn't have the full package, she definitely has the best of most things. Her hop kick is bad, and that's pretty much about it. Everything else she has is just amazing. Her ability to control space on the ground is just crazy. Really want that stock. There we go. Oh, something I should discuss comparing the Japanese version to the US version, outside of what you see with, of course, what you see with the attacks that I'm doing. You have health ups in this game, and extra stock to be able to get. The US version, you have stocks that you can use for mutant powers, but it prioritizes health to utilize them first, and it takes 3 health, I believe it is. Whereas in the JP version, it prioritizes stocks first, which makes the game quite a bit safer. Though arguably worse is a speedrun, though that's debatable. The primary speedrun for this category is credit feeding, because all you do is spam Colossus mutant power through the whole game. Which does let you beat the game in under 15 minutes, but I'm not about it. Alright, get your memes out. Liz did have a great block this morning. Major ups. First time we see these bog enemies. Not too worried about them. Wish this guy would die, though. Sometimes if you don't get the kick as your last hit, these guys just don't die for some reason. Alright, so for Wendigo, another fairly easy fight. It's like fighting another blob, except he's faster. You really can't deal with the range of getting punted in the thigh with his staff. Try to stuff his wake up there. It's very possible to do that, but I mistimed it. Wendigo's just, I mean, he's not even so much hard, he's just annoying. Like, sometimes he'll just decide, oh, I'm gonna jump at you, and that's kind of hard to react to. Into triple digits? No, there's no extends in this game, sadly. 1 credit is 2 lives only. Maybe with the dip switches you can, but by default settings, not so much. Nice, got the kick on the groundling. Rather deal with him. So the difference between the Samuses, the green Samuses they both have really decent melee. It causes good damage and knockdown, so you want to avoid that. The green ones are better at anti-air. They have a missile shot that goes upward that's designed specifically as an anti-air. They'll try to zone you with it, but it doesn't work very well. Whereas the red Samuses have a better long-range shot, and they have a better whiff punish. Like, they can actually just bounce away from one of your attacks and then fire at you, and it comes out really quickly. So they're harder to fight on the ground, but you can dive in on them for free, which you tend to see me do a lot. I can spawn a vehicle that's going to come up here, but I'm just going to let that not happen. Really take care of these lizards first. Also, similar to Simpsons, this game has no rank, at least as far as I know. The enemies might be more difficult, but I never really noticed, but you definitely don't have to fight more of them. Nope. You also see me using a lot of ground attacks. One of the upsides of ground attacks in this game is if your timing is good, you can actually option select them into your back attack if other enemies try to approach you. Kind of tough to do, and a lot of it depends on luck. But I tend to go for it pretty often. So that guy. Storm also has one of the coolest looking ground OTG hits. Just electrocutes him with her hand. Nightcrawler's is probably the funniest. He just stomps on them. So as I mentioned before, those guys have a really good anti-air, but if you have good timing, when they're trying to line up with you, you can dive on them and still get the hit. It's tricky, but it's very doable. Bat's similar to the bee, except I think the bat's a little bit easier. Hop kicks make this guy free if you have a good one, but we're Storm. We don't have that luxury, so just staff him to death. Yeah, the PS3 and Xbox 360 ports of this game had some issues. It had the JP ROM set, but it didn't include the ability to get health ups at extra stock, unless you were playing on co-op. I don't know why they made that change. Otherwise, I'd probably just be playing that version. But this version to me is the most fun one to show off, just because of all the exploits you can do with being able to utilize heat powers in certain areas, which I haven't had to do yet because I'm really good on stocks at the moment, and having really good enemy segments. Come here, you. Nice. Followed right into that one. Alright, the lizard guy, one of my top priority. Yoga Flame is an issue. You just don't want to have to fight that move. It's a definite upgrade from all you saw out of them in, this is bad, from the previous stage. When you fight them in the Savage Land, they can only do the jumping tail whip, whereas here they have both that as well as a Yoga Flame. No bueno. This guy has health, so I'm going to let him circle a little bit. Thought the pink guy was dead, but okay. Get his health. I'm gonna mutant power here, because I don't want to deal with these Samuses. Like, fighting 3 Samuses at once all in line is obnoxious, so I'd rather not. I'm pretty sure you can get the life counter to 3 digits if you put in enough quarters, but again, not about that right now. Okay, that was off by a pixel or two, no big deal. It was weird. And these guys coming in with rocks, I'm gonna let them be their own undoing. Of course, my undoing too. We have another health up before the boss, so I'm not super worried. I can be a little bit liberal with what I'm doing here. Don't hop kick those guys, you will get hit. The rock hits you while airborne because hop kick is not invincible. Okay, one last little wave of enemies. Rude. Didn't want to get hit. Here's our boss. They're basically an Uber Sentinel by the name of Nimrod. There's definitely a Nimrod in this game. I don't particularly enjoy this fight. mainly because every time he walks, he shakes the screen, and that's just like psychologically problematic. It's just really weird to have to fight that. He's really slow, so I can interrupt most things he does. The only attack I'm really worried about is the one that hit me, and that's that energy wave. That fireball is kind of gross because it has really good spacing, and it has a little bit of built-in invincibility. Master Mold is actually the giant sentinel that makes more sentinels. We'll be seeing him in stage 5. So for his death sequence, I tend to refer to Nimrod as the drama queen, because all he wants to do is scream all the time and complain about how he's not getting his way, and then of course he explodes. Pretty easy peasy fight. Managed to turn it around after I took that hit, because from there I just decided to employ safety strats. Alright, here's where the game starts to really start to ramp up stuff in a stupid way. This stage is kind of cruel at times. Take that guy out. Got a quick wave of green sentinels I want to fight here. Also, do not challenge falling in that hole. It does kill you. It's not just like you lose a little bit of life, you actually just die. Like, don't even bother. Way past those turrets. I'd rather get rid of these things just to get rid of the noise. Okay, so this is free cover. I can just hide behind the wall and let them come to me. Very easy exploit. Got the back attack, that was clutch. Just get the drop on this Samus here. There's a pretty good variety of enemies in here if you just decide to walk in the room and let it stop scrolling. Like what we're gonna see right here. Try and kill these guys one at a time. Would have rather gotten them grouped, but that was unfortunate. Okay. So for what I recall as being our only mid-boss in this game, here we have the White Queen, who isn't that difficult and has low health, at least not in this instance, she's not difficult. She has 2 attacks that are actually pretty decent. She has a melee attack that involves a backswing. She also has a fireball that actually has a backdash built into it, which is pretty silly. Try to get me with it there. I don't recall how much her melee does, but her fireball definitely does 3, and I'd rather just not deal with that. Try and outrange her. Storm's also very good here. This is where the low attack becomes really good. You can just spam low attack on the hole, and it generally takes care of these things pretty easily. Not this time, though. But okay, we still did okay. Go away. Go away, so I made him go away. I have a health guy coming up here. I'm not going to collect it just yet. Have to now since I threw that guy into him. From here until the boss, or at least until a cutscene segment, it's pretty much just more enemies. We'll get one more stock and one more health up along the way. What are you doing? Crawling down there and stalling like a douchebag. Get out of here. Admittedly, I think even with this being the JP version and therefore the most forgiving version of this game, out of the 3 games I've played today, this was probably the hardest one to 1cc. And that includes Simpsons JP Expert. This game gets really out of control because there aren't a lot of great boss strats. It's kind of just proper spacing and control. Alright, so I'm going to use mutant power here just because F that. I don't want to deal with that at all. And I get a free energy back out of that. For those that brought it up, that is Master Mold. And yet for some reason it doesn't deploy Sentinels, it deploys Bone Breakers. The game is weird. One last little quick wave. These guys aren't too hard though, very basic Sentinels, they just happen to have a little bit more health. Alright, now for my favorite meme in the game, even for Magneto's quotes. Why does Juggernaut need a bazooka? Not a rhetorical question. Anyway, talk about the fight. Juggernaut's not really all that difficult, but he does have one attack I'm constantly worried about. His punch is whatever. Even the gun blast is not even that big of a deal because it has really slow startup and you can dodge it very easily. That running shoulder attack, however, whew, that thing is instant as it gets. I think it's more instant than oatmeal. If there's any attack hitting me, it's probably that one, as it's hit me twice now. This guy work his way down here. You can outspace him pretty well because, you know, this attack is busted. Alright, cool. Definitely not perfect because he decided to get rowdy with shoulder. But whatever. Okay. Now we go to places that everybody dreads. Stage 6 is insane. This is the hardest stage in the game beginning to end. It's not the last stage, but everything about it is just a pure toilet fire. It's not fun. Lots of problem enemies to deal with. Sentinels are now more difficult than they've ever been. These silver sentinels are, I mean, they're typically just standard sentinels by definition, but they have a lot more health than sentinels we fought before at this point. So making sure we get rid of them quickly is of the essence, and that's also kind of difficult to do. We also have this bridge. The fact that we have to deal with this right away and that it's not even the hardest section in the friggin' level, pretty miserable. So here I'm going to use a stock. Get all that. Use that. Oh, I didn't know actually you had just stocks for that. I guess I've been really good on mutant powers. Oh well. Get out of the way. Jab that thing. Alright, so here's where things get to be a problem. We have 4 segments of enemies we have to fight here. 3 of them are exactly the same. They're all 2 white sentinels, along with 2 Samuses, 1 of each red and green. And they have really interesting spacing. Oh, I forgot about this pink one. This guy just has a stock, though. Ooh, this is going to be gross. So the green one, I tend to prioritize a bit less. That was actually really good. Because his zoning attack comes out a lot slower. Here we should have a troop of clone pyros. Kill them all with 1 mutant power. Easy peasy. Then 1 last grouping of this. Alright, I'll take the hit. Jerk. At this point, all sentinels also have fireballs, so having to play distance with them is not fun. Especially when you like get a corner trap like that on those Samuses. They just decide to come in and just be the fun police. Kinda sucks. That was rude. Okay. Alright, cool. 1 last little wave. This pink sentinel has health, so that's really good for us. We're gonna do this. Put herself to 1, and now we go back to full. Here's the other reason to dread this stage. The actual hardest boss fight in the game. This boss is referred to by the name of Living Monolith, which is... he's like a disciple of Apocalypse in X-Men lore. These actually aren't the Living Monolith, the one in the center is. But this first phase is actually the most difficult, because fighting these 2 clones at once is basically a complete chore. These guys have better range than you. You have to make sure you get the drop on them as they're aligning vertically with you. They only have the 1 attack, but it's very, very deadly. It does 3 if it causes knockdown on you. It takes 2 hits from 1 to put you on the floor, but they only have to do it 4 times. So if your spacing isn't good, not gonna have a good time. Got the first one. Come here. For the last one, he gains a new attack in this eye laser, which is actually really easy to deal with. It has really long startup, and it has an audio cue. So not hard at all to deal with. Other than that, it's just fighting the 2 at once, except you only have to fight 1. From here, this should be home free. Disciple, instead of Apocalypse. Hangs out in Egypt, does that kind of thing. Alright. Pretty decent fight there. Alright, Deathless through stage 6 is a good place to be, for sure. On to our last full stage. Here we have the asteroid. I think it's just... I want to say it's Asteroid M. I don't think Avalon was a thing yet. Gold Sentinels are the toughest Sentinels we fought so far, but they're still not that bad, because in most segments, all you have to do is fight just them, as opposed to them and a bunch of Samuses. Samuses don't exist in this stage, and therefore the stage is quite a bit more lenient in terms of the kind of enemies you have to deal with. Come on. Get the hit. I do want to prioritize these turrets, though. These turrets are an issue. That laser they fire is pretty instant. Like, if you try to dive in and they're spaced, they have better spacing than you, they do get to hit you. To offer my opinion about what's being said about Juggernaut, what I know about him is that he's not as strong as someone like Hulk when he's at his angriest, but he's also completely impervious to pain. Like, Hulk can hit Juggernaut harder, but Juggernaut's not going to feel it. That's really all I can offer about that. Quick segments of Bone Breakers. These are really easy to manipulate. Just move them over to the left, do your combo, and they're good. Oop, forgot to update the stream. Do be sure to follow Murph as well, though. Okay. Yeah, I kind of decided to start developing my cold on my own last night. It's been a heck of a week, especially in terms of the weather. All right, now that we've gotten all of our health back, now we have the boss rush. So, I think this was an idea borrowed from Crime Fighters 1 and 2. I don't know too many other Konami games where you have to actually just do a straight-up boss rush like this for beat-em-ups. I can have as many as 3 bosses on screen at a time, but that just sounds like torture and no thank you. I'm just going to go fight one at a time. I'm not trying to go for speed here. I just want to survive. What? Remember what I said earlier about him just instantly jumping at you? Yeah, I had to deal with that. For these fights, they actually do have less health than they originally did, with the exception of the boss we fight after Wendigo. They actually go out of order here because I'm going to be fighting Emma Frost here first, as opposed to Nimrod. We'll be refighting every boss except Pyro, who we saw clones of in the last stage, and no more Living Monolith. That fight is exclusive to stage 6, thankfully. So White Queen's a bit tougher here because she has more space to walk around with, and it's kind of hard to approach her. Her fireball is actually legitimately great with this much space. Like, see how much space she got to employ by just doing that? What the F? Also, similar to a lot of Konami games at the time, something I learned in a very heartbreaking fashion when I tried to 1cc this game with Wolverine, you can only spend 5 minutes on this stage. The game will kill you and take a life from you if you last that long. Nimrod, not too difficult. I actually think this fight's easier because you have more space. First time you fight him, you're having to fight him in front of Kitty's containment pod. You have a lot less room to work with on the right side of the screen. Top. Nobody cares about the fact that I didn't put fruit in your friggin' cereal today. Oh, that's rude. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, there we go. I won't lie that fighting Juggernaut while this big explosion is going on is not my favorite thing, but whatever. We're doing it. Putting Juggernaut on the left side is a pretty easy fight here. Okay. I didn't really want him all the way up the top, but whatever. Attacks way faster. Okay, final boss for this room. Here we have Magneto. Only has 2 attacks. He has a kick, and he has that right cross punch, which is not really much of a threat. It's incredibly slow. The kick, however, is a different story. Not only is it super fast and really high damage, it also can just put you in stun lock if it gets you against the wall. If he hits you with it and puts you at the wall, he can actually just kill you, which he might do now. Okay, I got lucky. Does 3 damage, I think. The exploit I use is to make him follow me to the bottom, then try to work my way up. Get 3 hits for a knockdown, then do it again. Works pretty well most of the time. Okay. But of course it wasn't Magneto, it was actually Mystique, because that's just how X-Men plot lines work. So I'm going to shut Magneto up by throwing out a superpower. Works pretty well. Oh, he's mad now. Oh, he hit me with a fireball, but he's real mad. Okay. I'm getting trolled so hard. Luckily, when you get hit by shield, you do get iframes, but I didn't get out there quickly enough. So he lost a life. No big deal. Sucks for the no miss, but whatevs. And from here, it's pretty much just more of the same. Just hit him 3 times and get away. The big attacks to watch out for, his fireball is really dangerous to deal with. It does 4 damage. Has really good range. It's slow startup, but once it's out, you really need to get the heck out of the way. Does have some good memes. Shield's a good one. Definitely a fan of Shield. I hate fighting against it because he's invincible unless you throw a mutant power. I'd rather just not, though. The mutant power doesn't even hurt him. It just breaks the shield. Gonna be more of this until either I die or he does. Ooh! Hadn't seen that one yet. Canceled fireball into shield. That was dirty. That was so dirty. Like, what the heck? I mean, I don't know if I could have fought that, but hey, we're still in there, right? Also shielding a lot, which is some pretty bad RNG, but it's whatever. I'd rather fight him to the right if I can. Taunting is not completely free. He can cancel taunt to a fireball. So I try to space it out to where I make sure that doesn't happen. Not perfect, but it can happen. Put him on the floor. Only has a couple more cycles at this point. You can see about how much he's flashing, which is, of course, a Konami trademark. They don't get health bars. They just flash until they're dead. All right, this should be the last cycle. And that'll be time. Sucks I couldn't land the no miss, but I'll still take a 1cc, of course. This game can be really cruel. Like, it's so punishing for just small mistakes. But I'll take that for sure. Thank you all so much for the GGs. Can't complain about 3 down. I also just want to kind of sit and enjoy this ending. This ending music is amazing. Yeah, my only true regret with this game at this moment is that I haven't been able to 1cc with other characters, though I have made valid attempts. Wolverine and Dazzler I've come close with on a number of attempts. They just have a really hard stage 7 for some reason, and Wolverine also has a really difficult stage 6. Hopefully one day I'll be able to overcome those hurdles, but I've got other projects in the meantime. But even in addition to that, Storm is still just really fun to play. She's very, very good in this game. Alright everybody, gonna get set up for my last one before we hand it off, and I'll catch you all soon.